Welcome to Travolting, hosted by Jeff Sweeney and Stuart Elmore, covering Staying Alive. Enjoy the episode. Welcome, folks, to this episode.
Hello.
Hello. It's great to have everyone back.
Jeff, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well.
Yeah?
You know how I'm feeling especially well?
How are you feeling especially well?
Because I listened to our Grease episode. It's pretty good.
It is pretty good. I love it.
Yeah. But you folks have already listened to that one about 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And we want to thank you for also listening to Blowout last week.
Blowout. That's a good one.
We had a lot of fun doing that one, and we hope you folks did the same.
And you know, right now, I think it's important to address that we're hitting a dry run here.
Yes.
And you might say that we are going to attempt, or maybe even try, to stay alive during this.
Yes. And you know how we're doing that? Because we're watching the film, or we watched the film, Staying Alive.
1983.
1983, sequel to a film we covered before, Saturday Night Fever.
Directed by who, Jeff?
This is directed by the one and only Sylvester Stallone.
Sylvester Stallone did this.
Sylvester Stallone, who the only movies he has directed aside from this are pretty much his Rocky movies.
Yeah, so I think...
And Rambo.
He had just done Rocky 4 before this, I believe.
Rocky 3.
Right, Rocky 4 is in 84.
Yeah, he has not yet defeated communism.
He's not... so far defeated communism. So he had done...
He's only defeated Clubber Lang.
He's done Rocky 2 and Rocky 3 because he didn't direct Rocky 1.
He did not.
He just wrote the screenplay.
He directed Rockies 2, 3, 4, and 6.
Oh, he did do 6.
John
6
G
was a good one.
Yeah, 6. Rocky Balboa is great.
Yeah, but he didn't do 5.
No, John G. Avildsen, who did the first one, did 5.
And why did 5 suck then?
Yeah, it's very strange that he returned for 5.
We're gonna talk all about this on our Sylvester Stallone podcast.
Yeah, this is now the Rocky cast.
The Rocky cast. But yeah, directed by Sylvester Stallone, who has a brilliant cameo.
Yes, he does.
You know, like not very a subtle cameo. Like it calls attention to it.
Yes.
Cameos are like, you're not really supposed to call attention to it. This is like clearly like, I want the audience to know that it's me. You know? And the best part about it, we're going to talk about it later, is like he looks like he didn't dress for a role at all. It looks like he just got up from the director's chair and started walking in the crowd
on the set.
Because he's got the hat, the scarf, the sunglasses, the whole deal.
The thing is, I think that the placement in the movie he appears is very poignant.
Yeah.
And this is going to go into why I think this movie fails as a sequel.
Yeah.
And the way it could have been good. Not as a sequel. I mean, I'll get into it.
Yeah, but I think it's... I mean, first off, we got to address this has a 0% score on Rotten Tomatoes.
We are covering 3 films on this podcast that have a 0% on Rotten Tomatoes. This is the first one.
Yeah.
I don't think it's worthy of that. I don't think it's that disastrous of a movie.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, this to me is a solid 2 out of 5 stars.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not solid, but...
And I think, I don't know, should we get into, like, I have a hypothesis why that is, why it's 0%. Because essentially Rotten Tomatoes, for most folks probably know, it's like, you know, they're taking a collection of all the reviews that they can get and then placing a label of positive or negative on each review. And it's the percentage of positive versus negative that gives that percentage on the tomato score. So essentially they had 100% negative reviews on this film, but I have a theory about that. Yes. And I can share that with you now.
We'll get into it at the end of the episode.
Yeah, I agree.
There's a lot to talk about with the impact of this movie and what happened after it came out. But first we got to talk about why this movie was made. Not why, but how it was made.
And where it tracks in his career.
Yeah.
Travolta, that is, not Stallone.
Yes, Travolta.
This is about Travolta.
Yes. This is Travolting.
As much as I would love for this episode to be about Stallone, it's
maybe
not.
We'll do the well, I don't know, Sly like Sylvester or something like that as our next podcast. I don't know. We're only on episode 10 out of 66 of this.
What was that podcast idea name again?
Sly like Sylvester or something.
Let me take care of the spin-off podcast naming conventions from now on, please. Sly as Sylvester?
Yeah. I'm a big fan of I'm Walking Here for a Christopher Walken podcast.
Well, that's just fucking genius.
If anyone steals that for their podcast, I will hunt you down.
We will cancel it.
Yes.
Well, we've already had a recording of us saying that's our idea.
Did we?
Well, yeah, this podcast.
Oh, yeah. Well, here it is.
So what I'm saying is, like,
This is
in the
copyright protection.
future, if somebody says it, know that it is copyright because we can track down the date and time
From the metadata,
from the metadata that we spoke about this idea. So it's copywritten.
Yeah. So take that, thieves of I'm Walking Here podcast names.
We should stop saying it as often as we are.
Yes.
In hopes that people don't get the idea to steal it.
Yeah, and we'll discuss this again in 57 episodes if we decide to move ahead with it.
Yeah.
But yes, this is his follow-up to our past 2 episodes, Urban Cowboy and Blowout.
Yeah.
And I think it's very conscious it coming after those films.
Yeah.
Moment by moment, was a huge flop critically and commercially for Mr. Travolta.
Yeah.
Urban Cowboy did well, but it only did okay, comparably to his previous successes.
It wasn't a blowout.
And then Blowout, huge critical success, like tremendous financial failure.
Yeah.
And so I think it's a very conscious choice that his next 2 films, talk about even the one after this a little bit, are a sequel to one of his most successful movies, being this one, Saturday Night Fever. And the one after this is a reteaming with Olivia Newton-John in kind of a Grease spiritual successor.
Yeah.
I think it's very conscious that feels really stung by the failure of Blowout, a movie that he put a lot of his heart into.
Yeah.
And now he's kind of retreating back into some familiar territory.
Yeah. And I just, I wonder how coincidental it is that the title of this movie is called Staying Alive.
And he is trying to keep his career
and he
alive.
Is trying to keep his career alive. So he does go through a rough patch. And what really upsets me is... And
Blowout ruled.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And I know we already talked about this in the last episode, but like I feel like we can address it more because of this film.
Yeah.
Is like he is now like falling into this trap and starting to lose that credibility as an actor because of a film that objectively is artistically great.
Maybe it's my favorite of the movies we've covered so far.
Same here.
And so it later does save him and bring back his career in the 90s.
Right.
But for the next 10-ish years or so, we're kind of watching his retreat from that style into this, which doesn't help him.
Right.
And then he just kind of stays at this low level for a while.
Yeah, and it makes me wonder, like, if the audience liked Blowout, what would have Travolta 80s had been?
Yeah, or even if he was stung by the financial failure of the movie, but kept at that style.
Yeah.
Which, it's partially probably just that people didn't want to hire him.
Mm-hmm.
But if he had stayed, like, in the realm of, like, thrillers and, like, truly challenging himself as a performer.
Yeah.
What he could have accomplished.
Yeah.
Which we later did find out. He takes some amazing roles in his future.
Yeah.
And we will talk about them in a while.
Can I ask you something?
Yes.
Can you throw your jacket in that corner? Yes. I'm just hearing some jacket movements. Sweet. Thank you. Okay. Just heard a little bit of whoosh, 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 whoosh.
You folks probably love that.
Yeah. I'll cut that out. It's cool.
No, don't cut it out. Double it.
Staying alive here, Jeff.
Yes. But basically, they wanted to make a sequel to Saturday Night Fever pretty much immediately after it came out.
Interesting.
The producer, Robert Stigwood, who he did Saturday Night Fever, Grease, and
Moment
by Moment with.
Yeah.
Wanted to. Travolta said no. He didn't want to touch that well again. And it wasn't basically until the failure of his last few films that he is like, all right, I'm going to come back. I'll do it.
We're going to try it.
He's like, I need people to love me again.
Yeah. They did not love him after this movie.
Yes. And it was Travolta who initially came up with the idea of Tony Manero going to Broadway.
Well, I will say, this film was somewhat successful financially, though.
Yes.
People did go see this movie, and a couple times even, because it was financially successful. But obviously, like, even at the time, Stallone and Travolta all were aware of its critical perception.
Yes.
That this was not a revival for his career.
Yeah.
Like, this is like a very much, well, it's a cash grab. This was like almost the epitome of what a cash grab is.
Yeah.
It's like, you like Saturday Night Fever? You like John Travolta? You like his dancing? We got that all in here for you.
Here it is. And it looks like it was shot for a budget of $2. This movie looks really cheap, but I'm gonna get into that.
It looks like all the money was funneled to that musical.
The end of the movie.
The end of the movie.
The rest of it kind of looks like a student film.
Yes, but, I agree with that. But the Broadway stuff at the end,
yes,
that looked cool.
The set looks cool,
and the lighting. The lighting, camera angles and stuff that really like. Story wise, it was very thin. Like, that's like 20 minutes of the movie. I didn't actually count.
The last act of this movie is just a musical number.
Yeah.
But no.
When we say musical number, it's like a contemporary dance.
It's like watching a videography of a musical performance off Broadway.
Yeah. That's professionally well done. But it's just like story-wise, like, what are we doing?
Yeah, why are we here for 20 minutes?
Yeah.
But going back, Travolta finally agrees in this kind of like post-blowout retreat he's having.
Yeah.
And he also came up with the idea of Stallone.
He did.
He didn't initially say Stallone. He said a director like Stallone, because he's like, I liked Rocky 3. I want someone like that.
He liked the idea that Stallone made a good sequel.
Yeah, he made 2 good sequels.
Now I don't remember. Like, are they good? I mean, were they good sequels for the time? Like, I'll be honest with the audience. I love almost the entire Rocky franchise besides Rocky 5. Like, I love Rocky 2. I even like Rocky 3.
Rocky 2 and 3 are good.
And were they perceived as good? Like, was Rocky
so.
3? I'm gonna look up the score.
Here's the thing about the Rocky sequels.
Yeah,
is that inherently you can't make a sequel to Rocky without ruining the first movie in some respect. Because the end of it's like he doesn't win. He doesn't win, but he goes the distance. And that's the beauty of the movie, is that he feels like a winner even though he didn't win, and he gets Adrian and all that.
Rocky 3 did get a 64% fresh Rotten Tomatoes score. So,
inherently, if you make a sequel where there's a rematch and Rocky has to win, you're kind of blowing up the point of the first one. This is another sequel, which is funny because this is a movie. Staying Alive is also a sequel that kind of blows up the point of the first one.
Right, exactly.
And they're both directed by Stallone.
Exactly. That's very well said.
I think the difference is that Rocky 2 and 3 are actually good movies. And even though they kind of blow up some of the point of the first one, I think there's enough merit in them that they justify their existence.
Yeah. I don't want to get too much into Rocky. I wonder if, like, because this is the only movie Stallone wrote and directed that he wasn't the main character.
Yes.
And it makes me wonder, like, because Stallone writes...
Well, here's the thing. Stallone's kind of the main character of this movie. This movie is not a sequel to Saturday Night Fever. This is an adaptation of Sylvester Stallone's life. That's what this movie is.
Yes.
We'll get more into it when we get into the plot. But this movie is Sylvester Stallone casting John Travolta as himself, trying to break into Hollywood.
Okay.
I'm
gonna need some help with that.
Oh, I'm gonna go into it.
Well, so what I was gonna make my point about was purely on a technical craft level, that I feel like, and maybe I'm wrong about this, that Stallone wrote the Rocky movies for himself.
Yes.
And he knows himself pretty well enough in terms of what he can deliver from an acting perspective.
Adrian and I did real good last night.
Precisely.
I drive... Rocky, can you drive? Oh, I drive bulldozers and airplanes. I drive you crazy if you give me the chance.
Yeah, precisely. So he knows he can do that. When writing for Travolta, which there was a script that Nick Kahn wrote for this film, but Stallone scrapped it.
And then Norman Wexler, who helped with the first one, wrote a draft, and then Stallone did the final draft.
Right. And so I wonder, like, how much of this is him, like, writing for what he's familiar with, which is himself. I mean, for God's sakes, like, you're not wrong. This is, like, Sylvester Stallone up there. I mean, it's John Travolta, but he's playing Sylvester Stallone.
Yes.
I mean, we're going to talk about the hair.
But we're going to talk about the hair. We're going to talk about the jacket.
We're going to talk about, like, the bodybuilding and, like, it's Sylvester Stallone, played by John Travolta.
But,
so anyway,
yes, I think we started on this tangent. I mean, we're gonna get on a lot of tangents about Stallone and Travolta this movie, but I think Travolta had the idea of Stallone. They were able to get Stallone to do it. He's like, yeah, I kind of like that movie,
Is this gonna be often in the podcast?
This is the only episode of this podcast where I'm gonna get the option to do a Sylvester Stallone frequently, so it's gonna happen.
Copy that.
It's not that good, but I just like slide to him. I like Rocky. Rocky's my best friend.
Does it have anything to do with Philadelphia, Jeff?
Philly. But
okay.
Two big things that Stallone brought to this, besides rewriting the script. Travolta didn't like the movie. Had a depressing ending at first. And
So did Saturday Night Fever.
and Travolta didn't like that, which I think is one of the major problems.
This is also PG.
So yes, that is the second thing I was going to get. First, Stallone writes a happier ending. Secondly, this movie's PG.
Because
Saturday Night Fever is very R.
Yes, but this again.
They wanted family appeal for this movie.
When was PG-13? Temple of Doom,
Yeah, Temple of Doom.
which was what year?
Well, Temple of Doom is not PG-13, but it's the movie that caused them to be like, we need to add another rating.
So like I'm trying to, because I remember the thing about Saturday Night Fever, which alluded to them wanting to make this PG, was because they had made a version of Saturday Night Fever that was for PG for TV. Broadcast. And it developed a young cult following, like from young audiences, in like high school age, like folks who kind of, I'm almost imagining these are the same folks who went to Grease in theaters and liked and saw it, and then they saw Saturday Night Fever on TV and watched it, and it was a PG version. And they saw Travolta, and I feel like it was that sort of impact that alluded to them wanting to make, like, we're going to make this PG for those folks.
And that's the like original sin of this movie. Is they decided to make it PG.
Yeah, it absolutely is.
Quick sidebar, but I looked it up. Temple of Doom is what caused PG-13. The first movie to be rated PG-13 was like 3 months later, and it was Red Dawn.
Gotcha. What year?
84, so a year after this.
Year after this movie. God, if we just had one
If
more
they had waited
year,
one more year, this could have been PG-13.
could have been PG-13. We could have got one use of the word
It
fuck.
maybe might have gotten 20% on round in that case.
Potentially.
Yeah, let's just get into the movie. That's pretty much all the context you
Yeah.
really need to go in.
Well, it starts off right away.
Yes, we're in a dance number.
I feel like this is a common thing with Travolta movies.
They just
start.
There's also just movies of the time just had a habit of
Yeah.
starting.
Right. Yeah.
There was not much business to be dealt with.
Yeah.
But it starts with a dance number over the opening credits.
Yep. Which Far From Over, which is the song, nominated for Oscar for Best Original Song.
I believe it was the Golden Globes.
I'm pretty sure this was an Oscar.
It was the Golden-
Pretty sure this was an Oscar. Fact check me.
I'm looking it up.
Fact check me.
I'm looking it up. Because I saw that this was nominated for 2 awards. It was a Golden Globe and a Golden Raspberry. And I thought that was funny that it was the 2 Goldens.
Oh, well, Travolta was also nominated for a Razzie for Worst Actor in this
yes,
film.
that is the Golden Raspberry.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
It was nominated for Golden Globe for Best Original Song.
Not Oscar?
Not an Oscar, unfortunately. It was nominated for 3 Golden Razzies. Travolta, Finola Hughes. Oh, no, she got nominated twice. Sad.
Finola Hughes. That's Laura, right? The star dancer.
Here's another problem with this movie. Is I can't remember any of the names. The
Well,
characters.
I didn't realize.
It was Laura, the dancer.
Yeah, I knew Jackie. I knew Laura.
Another quick sidebar. If any folks are listening to this who haven't seen the movie, it is on Amazon Prime for free at the time of this recording.
Yeah.
I will continue to suggest that if you're able, watch the movies we're covering before we cover them. Obviously, it's not a requirement, but
It is a great case study.
yeah, this is a very fascinating movie.
Yes.
But I will continue to encourage that if anyone wants to watch the movies, I'll tell you where they are.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to opening credits.
Movie just starts. Dance audition
There's
on Broadway.
freeze frames in this for like actor names and like crew names. It doesn't really seem like there's any motivations about where they freeze though.
Yeah, not really.
Like you think it's gonna be freeze on a person and then their name next to it. That does not happen.
Right. No.
It's like freezing on people's crotches like mid jump. There's like blurry images of people running by. There's not much in the way of like point behind.
It seemed like it was done at the last minute to satisfy DGA requirements.
Yeah. Like there's a wide shot of all of them like dancing with their arms out, and it's like just it looks like a blurry mush. It looks like me whipping my phone out and taking a picture.
Yeah.
Before like it has time to settle.
Right.
That's no like discredit. Like it's the opening credits. Like who cares? But it's kind of the first sign that there might be some problems with this movie.
Damn,
Right away.
Yeah.
But Travolta's definitely going for it. He lost like 20 pounds for this role.
Got fit.
Got really fit. Got really sweaty too.
Yeah, lots of very sweaty.
And going from the first film, Saturday Night Fever, into this, it just kind of shows where he was at the end of that movie, where he's embracing his like feminine dancing side. Yeah. Just really going for it. He's wearing like the skin tight, like very loose clothing.
Yeah.
And so
he's in like
from
a leotard
from that, it's a strong continuation of the first, and that he's in the place we left him.
Yeah.
And we're gonna see where he goes from there. And then we follow along with his life a little more. He leaves the dance parlor. He has his friend. What's her name?
Oh, well.
Jackie.
So it's a dance audition, and he gets sent home.
Oh, he gets sent home.
Yeah, like he didn't get the part, which is, part of business in the movie to let you know, again, where he's at with his life. He's trying out for all these Broadway roles and not getting anything for mostly political reasons because he's a great dancer.
But he goes to his job after that.
Yes.
He's done. He works at a club as a waiter.
Is that the one right after? Dance instructor.
Oh yeah, he has two jobs. He
has two jobs. The first thing he goes to after the audition, he goes to that like aerobics dance thing, and he gets a little quick
place
argument.
We never go back to. In the movie.
And then so we really don't go back to that movie.
We think this is gonna be a part of it because like introduced to his boss Fatima.
Wouldn't that have been an interesting story? Like Tony can't get on Broadway, but he sees somebody in the dance studio that like really has dreams and aspirations, so he takes them under the wing, like Creed.
You were describing the exact plot of Rocky Balboa, Creed, Creed 2, and Cars 3.
Ooh.
Maybe we'll do Saturday Night Fever 3 in modern day, and Travolta could do that.
Ooh. Anyway, just would have been better. So, but he works at the dance club.
He teaches aerobics movements.
It's
kind of it's a selling out of his what he considers an art form used for like commercial point.
Yep, and before in between the dance studio and the dance club, because he does work at a dance club, we do get a little bit of where he goes to his apartment. He asks for any messages from jobs. No messages. We see him living in a very small, tight apartment, showing where he is financially. And then he goes to the dance club.
Yes, he works as a waiter for tips.
Yep.
There's
a nice juicy shot of just his crotch.
Yeah, there's also a part where he looks up at the ceiling and it just shows a disco ball and he stares at it forlornly.
Well, I mean, I kind of got
it. No, that's I get it. It just is kind of funny. Where he looks at it and he's like, I'm doing a face for the people listening.
Yeah. He's doing a weird face.
He's doing a face of that life I left behind.
Yeah, exactly.
The 70s abandoned me.
Oh man. Too real.
But there's a bunch of girls there who are like, you want to go home with us? And Travolta, having learned his lesson from the first one about abusing women, is like, no. When they're like, we're looking for a nice guy, and he's like, well, try the army.
Yeah. Well, he's also there were other two girls. It's like, you want to come party with us? It's like, man, I nearly got a concussion last time. You two should be a tag team.
Yeah.
There's a lot of one-line zingers in this movie.
It's all the the really obvious pickups from the first one. Just instead of subtext, this movie is very textual.
Yes.
That instead of being like, he's a changed man after the first one, he literally is telling us, yes, I do not abuse women anymore. And at one point he literally says yeah, I changed. Since I left Brooklyn. I don't drink. I don't smoke. I do not be mean to people. He's very much, it's at this point in the movie, he's very much just telling us what.
There's a lot of telling in this movie, not a lot of showing.
Yeah. There's a lot of showing, but it's not what I want to see.
It's showing other things. Showing other things for a PG movie.
Showing PG rated stuff.
PG crotch shots.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I believe after that's when he starts going to auditions again and handing out his resume and his headshot.
Not getting anything.
At the beginning of the scene, it's very important. He bumps into Sylvester Stallone on the street, who turns around and stares at him for a half a second.
For a long half a second.
And it is absolutely not a mistake that it leads directly into the scene of Travolta going to all these places and being immediately discounted because of his looks when he walks in.
Yeah.
Because that is the Sylvester Stallone story, is that he couldn't get really a role or get Rocky produced. He wrote Rocky for himself because no one would hire him for acting roles.
Yeah.
Because of the way he looks, because of the way he sounded. He didn't strike as a leading man.
Right.
And so I think it's very important that Stallone appears at the beginning of this scene, and then we cut to Travolta going into places. Readers are just reading scripts, not even looking at him. He hands them his stuff, and they're like, great, thanks. People are shooting him out the door. Yeah, they're kicking him. Whatever, man.
Yeah.
They're kicking him out.
And
they're not interested in him.
I just find that part interesting because about Sylvester Stallone not being the leading man, because when you talk about John Travolta in the beginning of his career, he is the definition of the look of a leading man.
Yeah.
So I just found that pretty funny.
It is funny.
If you're going to get an actor to play yourself for that reason, John Travolta.
It's funny that Sylvester Stallone couldn't make the Sylvester Stallone story. I mean, Rocky's kind of the Sylvester Stallone story. You know, he gets the 1 in a million shot and all that. But
Yeah.
it's funny that when it comes to making like a more literal adaptation of his life, he can't get it funded unless it's a sequel to a movie with an extremely attractive man.
Yeah. It is what it is.
Yes, that's more or less the setup of this movie.
But so we get back with his girlfriend. See, there's a little thing
his friend with benefits.
Friend with
Jackie.
benefits. Yes, that's a good way to say it. There's a lot of like weird, not weird, but just like not a lot of like commitment.
Yeah, this is a very PG rated sexuality movie where they don't show anything and they don't tell anything.
Right.
When it comes to the sex, it's just like they wake up in a bed together, or he's walking around and with Jackie, and he's like, "I love you," and she's like, "Why?" And he's like, "Well, I actually love her," and all that.
Yeah. So he gets back with Jackie, his friend with benefits, and she has a show because she's actually working.
Yes.
And this is okay. So I have a story about this scene that comes next, where he watches the show.
Mm-hmm.
Where as the show's playing, because I totally like forgot who was who, and they put on so much makeup for their shows that the woman he's staring at, I thought was the same actress.
Yeah, you thought it was Jackie.
I thought it was Jackie, and I was like, oh, he's just so enamored by her. And then when the show is over, they get off stage, and she walks past him, and then Jackie walks up next to him, like, oh,
that's two.
There's a different girl.
Yeah, so he gets really enamored watching the lead actress of the show that Jackie's in, Laura.
Yeah. Laura's
also,
like a background dancer.
Laura's the lead.
Oh, Jackie's a background dancer. Laura's the lead. Yeah, I'm going to get that mixed up.
Also important to note, Stephanie from the first movie is sure not appearing in this film.
I think were there plans for that?
There was a plan where a bunch of people from the first one would come back. As it stands, the only recurring characters are Tony Manero and his mom. Yeah.
And I don't think that's necessarily horrible.
Like it works.
It could have. Well, the movie doesn't work, but I think there in a version of this movie that did work, you can involve there not being reoccurring. Like
you can make a movie about the absence of people just as much as you can make about the presence of people.
Yes. Good way of saying it, Jeff.
I like movies about absence.
Yeah.
You know what's a good movie about absence?
What's a good movie?
Star Wars: The Last Jedi. That's a good movie about the absence of Han Solo because he died in the last one.
For folks listening, Jeff is twirling his hair.
I'm staring.
Are you enamored by me, Jeff? Is that what you're doing? You're just twirling your hair while looking at me from across the table.
I just enjoy bringing up The Last Jedi because we talked about how we really like it, and we hope it makes people mad.
I mean, sorry, folks. I mean, if you don't like Last Jedi, well, all I have to say is I don't like White Castle. Yeah. So
that is true.
Fuck off.
But yeah, movies about absence are good.
Yeah.
Another one that's like fairly recent. I don't think it's like the best movie ever made, but it does it fairly well. Is the last Spider-Man movie? That's a pretty good movie about the absence of Tony Stark instead of the presence of Tony Stark.
The Tom Holland.
Yeah, the second Tom Holland one. Far From Home. That's it.
Yeah.
The one where that's a good movie about the absence of Tony Stark.
Yeah.
I like movies about absence of people. Anyway, this movie is not a movie about the absence of people. People are just absent from it.
Yeah.
But so Travolta's enamored by this lead actress in the show, Laura. Jackie is like, why are you staring at her? And he's like, oh, you know,
to the Stallone accent for Travolta. But that's when he starts simping.
Yes. So he goes up to Laura's dressing room where she's trying to just take her makeup off and relax after a show. And he's at the door and he's like, I don't know if you want to go off for some food, drink later, come out with me. You know?
And by the way, Laura is British.
British, yes.
British.
Crikey. I mean, no, it's Australian. What am I doing?
Stop it, man. We did this in our Greece episode. We disrespected so many Australians. We had to put it in our description.
We insulted not only a country, but a whole continent. Think about that.
Great. Oh, Lord. So, yeah, he's in the dressing room.
Yes.
Simping real hard.
And this is the part where he literally explains his character development, where he's like, yeah, you know, I used to treat women not so good, but, you know, ever since I left Brooklyn, I don't drink, I don't smoke, I treat everyone with respect. And I'm like, dude.
Yeah, I wrote down
we get it.
Addressing his misogyny.
We watched the movie. We got it.
Yeah. Oh, Lord. Well, again, it's the telling, not showing thing.
You know, it's a good bit, though. When he's like, I got a sensitive friend out here, Rico. He's really nervous to meet you, but I'm going to get him. And he like walks off and he's like, hey, Rico, come on over here. And like, we're just watching an empty doorway. And then he comes back, he won't come. I'll talk to you, though.
And then she closes the door on his face.
Yeah, and then she slams the door in his face and according to him, almost breaks his nose.
Maybe it almost did in real life, and that reaction is just John Travolta.
We get a little bit of the old Tony Manero when he rips there. He's like,
What
He's
the
like,
hell?
you almost hit my nose. What are you doing? You almost broke it.
Yeah.
And she's like, yeah, you were creeping on me and being like, come out to dinner with me, person I just met.
Yeah, and so she says she can't. She has auditions tomorrow, and she invites him to come.
Yeah.
And that's when he gets back with Jackie, and like he almost like says it. When Laura comes out and he's with Jackie, he like throws out another like line at Laura as she's passing, because Laura's like, small world. It's like, oh yeah, small world. And he's like looking at her and she's walking away.
And
It's
Jackie's like, who's that? I mean, she knows who it is.
And I just wrote down, it's like he tells Jackie he's simping to her face.
Yeah.
Like, again, there in this movie, to my experience, as PG as it can be, it doesn't fully express that Jackie and Tony are in a committed, exclusive relationship. But it is like, to me, I'm like, oh, like, fuck, dude.
Yeah. This movie can't have sex scenes, so it uses a dance. It's like the sex scene, but it's like violent sex.
It is like Dirty Dancing was rated R?
Probably. It's called Dirty Dancing. It's not clean dancing.
But it's like the dance scenes in Dirty Dancing, like probably around that level.
Yeah.
I would say.
Something like that.
I know there's some diehard Dirty Dancing fans out there that would like burn me alive for saying that.
Yeah.
Probably.
They're gonna come in our comment section and roast us.
I don't want to alienate the Dirty Dancing fans. They're good fans.
Yeah. But the next day,
Yeah.
Tony comes to the auditions.
Yes.
Um,
And we get the first glimpse of. Oh, I forgot something really quick. So at the very first audition at the beginning of the movie, the choreographer that is like auditioning the folks is named Kurtwood Smith. He is an actor that becomes somewhat more prominent later on, but most notably, to my experience, in Dead Poet Society, he plays Neil's dad in Dead Poet Society.
Oh,
Fun fact for audience members. So you see Dead Poet Society?
A while ago, but I have.
Like, you know, like Neil, the guy who wants to be an artist, and his dad, who's like mean and wants him to be a lawyer.
Yeah.
That's Kurtwood Smith.
Oh.
He's a choreographer in the first audition scene.
Interesting.
But he's not the choreographer in this audition scene that we're talking about.
Yeah, Mr. Mustache himself.
Yeah. I think I read the IMDb credits. His name is Jesse, I think.
Jesse.
Yeah. Doesn't say his name in the movie, I don't think.
Yeah, Steve Inwood. There he is.
Yeah. Named Jesse. But yeah, Jesse's auditioning the girls. Jackie gets picked. Laura's not even auditioning because she has
the lead.
She has the lead already. So then becomes one of my favorite lines in the movie. Again, a lot of one-line zingers in this, where a female choreographer comes up and says, "Hi, I'm Joy."
And Joel's like, "Yeah, I'm happiness."
"Hi, I'm happiness."
I was like, "Oh my god, dude!"
And then it's just like
I thought
silence.
you learned not to abuse women. What are you doing with that pickup line?
I'm happiness. And then so then they audition, and it's like the audition song. We learn later that the name of this show is called Satan's Alley.
Yes.
And the name of the song is like a very 80s techno electronic with like sampled sounds of whips and
yeah.
Yeah. And it's like so like, all right.
but they dance at this audition.
Yeah.
And Jackie gets cast. Yeah, Jackie gets cast like off the beginning.
And Jesse says, "I only need 2 of you."
Yeah, and then that's after Travolta's group goes for it.
Yes.
And it's like, one of you will get a call. But then I believe before he gets that call, Tony goes out with Laura.
Yes.
Is that right?
He goes out with Laura.
He goes out with Laura. And some Bee Gees music plays as they just walk around the city.
Yep.
And
talking about things I don't remember.
Yeah, the Bee Gees did 5 new songs for this movie. They were going to do more, but they quit.
Because of creative differences.
Creative differences with Travolta.
Yeah.
Someone else did some songs for this, but I'm going to get into it when he appears in this movie.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. But he and Laura go. I'm going to show you a really funny image about that. But he and Laura go out, and they're walking around the city, and there's a Bee Gees song like, "Yeah, in the city, we're walking around," and all that.
Like quite literally.
Yeah. Something like that.
Yeah.
But they Yes.
Yes.
And then they wind up in bed together.
Yes, they wind up in bed together.
And after they do it, they're both like, wow. And Travolta's like, wow, it was great. And he's like, I want to stay the night. And she's like, nah, I got work in the morning. You got to go.
She
He's like,
is going to kick him out.
She kicks him out.
Ooh, how the turns have tabled.
And he's like, what the hell? Anyway, so he goes home.
And he's waiting for the phone call.
Yes, he's waiting for the phone call.
Yeah.
But there's a really fun gag here where like there's music playing and you think it's the soundtrack of the movie.
Yeah.
And then the phone rings and he runs over to her. He's like, someone turn that music down. And this like 80s rock music that had been playing over the past like minute
It was
or
on the
two.
TV, right?
It was on some guy's radio in the lobby. And they turn it down. And he picks up the phone. And he's like, this is Tony Manero. Yeah, I got the role.
I can't believe it.
He's like, I'm the best.
I'll be there.
Yeah.
Hangs up and says, way to go, Monero.
Yes.
And then no one reacts like, I got to get a new residence.
That is a good bit.
It's just a bunch of these one-liners.
There's some good bits in this. There are also some very bad bits.
Down. Tony gets the gig. So,
But
then he goes to a music club.
Does he? Oh, yeah, he goes to a music club to see Jackie.
Because Jackie's a singer.
Yes, and Jackie is performing a fun stage with the one and only Mr. Frank Stallone. You think it looks like Sylvester, and you're like, is it? And you're like, oh, no, it's Frank.
And then you read the IMDb trivia page that says it's Frank Stallone.
Yes, it is. John Travolta's brother, Frank Stallone.
You mean
everyone's favorite.
You mean Sylvester Stallone's brother.
Oh, did I say
You
Frank?
said John Travolta's brother.
Sylvester Stallone's brother, Frank Stallone.
What if John Travolta?
I'm going to show you the funniest movie poster of all time.
I'm looking forward to it.
There's a documentary that came out this year.
Yeah.
And this is the name of it.
Well,
for the listener at home, it is in massive text, Stallone. And then in very small text under it, Frank.
That is.
Very, very good bit.
Man.
I kind of want to watch it.
I kind of do too.
Maybe we'll do an episode about it.
Talks about how Sylvester abused him.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding, man. I'm kidding, man.
Yeah. But
you obviously didn't abuse your brother.
So she's singing up there with Frank Stallone.
They're singing like jazzy stuff.
Yeah, they're singing jazzy stuff, and then like she said something nice to him after the performance. Travolta's like, "Why are you talking to that guy?" He's like, "You're my girl." And like Travolta's cheating on her too. So like, maybe drop her.
Again with the labels here, like I never really am sure. Like, are they just like friends with benefits, or are they like committed?
Wikipedia claims that they're dating, but that's never like textually said in the movie, as far as I can tell.
Later in the movie, even she's saying like, "I can't keep being second choice."
Yeah.
So like, she knows that he's
it has
to
be like a friends with benefits thing,
right? Yeah. I mean, like you can call yourself boyfriend and girlfriend and be like polyamorous or whatever. Yeah. It's just like for audiences.
Yeah,
it's
and for
like,
1983, that doesn't seem like something that would be in a movie.
You know, the 80s was a time.
The 80s was a time.
Well, maybe not the 60s sexual awakening, but you know,
there was things going on.
There was things going on. So,
but yeah, he's
I wrote down juggling two women.
He's mad at her for being nice to another guy. Meanwhile, he is sleeping with two women.
Meanwhile, he has definitely learned his lesson from the first movie.
Yes, he's learned absolutely nothing.
Part of the reason why this movie is just
because they're like, what if we just textually said that he learned his lessons and then never show them?
Right, never show that he learns his lesson.
Yeah. So then later that day, he goes by to see Laura again after seeing Jackie.
Yeah.
And she's with another guy getting in a limo.
I got flashbacks to the scene in Saturday Night Fever when he helps Stephanie move in, and there's a guy there.
Yes.
And how he handled it. Perfect moment for him to be like super chill and cool. Like, no, you don't have to explain anything to me. I get it. But and
he's like, "Were you just using me?"
Yep.
He gets so mad.
Yep.
And then she just says, "Everybody uses everybody."
That is like the "you don't fuck the future fucks you."
Yeah.
Quote version for this movie.
This is like the Walmart version of the first movie at this point.
It really is.
Yeah.
Because I wrote that quote down. I'm like, I feel like this is like the future fucks you version line.
Yeah.
That's what they're trying to go with. So.
Yeah. So he does around this time call his mom and tell her he got the role.
Yes.
But that's like not too important.
Yep.
So he's a little mad at Laura, but he got the role.
And they don't say it, but he got the role as the alternate, I think. right?
No, he just got a supporting role. He later positions himself as the alternate.
Oh, okay.
But he just got a supporting role, and he's now partially thinking Laura gave him the role.
Yeah. But he's not the leading man. Laura is the leading woman. Mm-hmm. And they obviously have like a intricate dance routine around each other, the duo. And so we get to a rehearsal scene.
Yes.
And
it needs to be noted the show is called Satan's Alley.
I said that earlier.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. The show is called Satan's Alley because that was when I was addressing the music for the audition.
Okay, yeah.
With all like the whips and stuff.
It is very funny that it's the same name from Tropic Thunder of like the fake Tobey Maguire, Robert Downey Jr. movie at the beginning, where they're like two priests who realize they're gay in like some Irish monastery.
You know,
5-time Academy Award winner Kirk Lazarus.
Yeah.
MTV Best Kiss winner Tobey Maguire.
I really want to do a Tropic Thunder episode.
The Thundercast.
Just one episode on Tropic Thunder.
Just Thunder and About.
Thunder and About.
Tropic Thunder and About.
Yeah, that's a good one.
We'll come up with
We'll come up with a one.
We'll come up with a better name when we do
the
when we do Robert Downey Pod Jr. or something. I don't know.
So, and it's also should be noted that's like what I love about this and how much of a quasi Rocky movie this is.
Essentially,
is that the rehearsal scenes are like these verbatim montage scenes, not that different from Rocky's like
training
verbatim
montages.
Training montage scenes.
The
dancing instead of hitting.
The thing is, they're not as exciting.
They're
one of
not
my
as
biggest
exciting.
problem with this movie is that the dance scenes are really not exciting.
Well, I mean, how exciting can you make a dance routine be?
Have you seen Saturday Night Fever?
But that really wasn't about
it
the
uses
dancing.
Wide shots just so you can see the whole like movements.
This one is differently
it's
shot.
extremely well shot. It has cool sets, cool lighting.
This one has a lot of
motions are exhilarating. The motions
are
are exhilarating in that one. And this one, it's just like
a lot of quick cuts.
It looks like I'm watching some like YouTube video about how they made a Broadway musical.
Yeah,
it's quick cuts. It's not that like exciting choreography,
and it's very close too. You don't see the full body. You get like cut off arms and legs.
It's another thing where this whole movie just feels kind of cheap in comparison to Saturday Night Fever. Like, I'm sure they spent a lot of money on this movie.
Yeah. So, but at the end of the rehearsal, he first asks Jackie out.
Yes.
Asking her like, what's she doing?
Yeah.
And they make plans.
Yeah, and she's like, I'm performing tonight. You should come.
Well, and this is after he had apparently already ditched her once, I think.
He didn't ditch her. He kind of showed Blade or something like that.
Yeah.
Oh no, you're right. He didn't attend the last performance.
Yeah. So this second
he was
one,
out with Laura.
She's like, "You're not gonna ditch me again or something, are you?" And he's like, "No, no." Then as soon as Jackie walks away, Laura's
like,
walks
"Yeah, I'm having
up.
a Christmas party. You should come."
Like businessy plot point wise, it's not even that good.
This motherfucker's just like, "Yeah, I'm going to that Christmas party."
Of course he is. Of course he is.
Because he's like, "Yeah, my second woman needs me over my first woman."
And sure enough,
he puts on the white suit from the first movie. He puts back.
Yeah.
And
you know what we didn't talk about?
What?
The hair.
Ooh.
We needed
sidebar for the hair report.
The hair reporting of Travolting.
Jesus Christ.
I came up with a theme song.
I am canceling this episode.
The hair reporting of Travolting. All right, so howdy, folks. This is the hair reporting report, the hair rating report for the Travolting podcast. I am your co-host, Stuart Elmore.
I'm Jeff, and I'm here to listen to him.
Okay.
He rates the hair. I just listen.
So, the hair in this movie is quite literally. When I say this is the exact same hair as Rocky and Rocky 3.
Basically.
The exact... No, I gotta even be... It's like Rambo hair. Because Rambo's the more even, like, poofy hair.
Yeah, it's also Rocky 3 hair as well.
Yeah, they're both pretty poofy?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, Rocky 3 is a little shorter, but...
Yeah, this is like Rambo, Rocky 3 poof. Like, look up for folks listening, just look up... Go to Safari, look up Rambo 3 or Rambo or Part 1 or Rocky 3 and look at Stallone's hair. It is the exact same hair
I'm doing it right now.
as Travolta's in this movie. Just look both up and put them side by side. They're the same. Now, when it comes to my likability of this hair, I gotta say, I'm actually a fan.
You like it?
Well, the first thing I noted when I thought about seeing him in this hair was Carrie.
Mm-hmm.
Because Carrie, I always differentiate Carrie from Boy in the Plastic Bubble when we talk about long hair Travolta, right? So, are you looking at them both side by side?
I'm looking at pictures.
It's exact same.
Yeah, I'm just looking at some funny images of
Okay.
Travolta and Stallone right now.
So, yeah, I always differentiate Carrie and Boy in Plastic Bubble when it comes to long hair Travolta. Carrie is a nicely controlled, defined long hair. Boy in the Plastic Bubble, as well as moment by moment long hair Travolta, is just like out of control poofiness.
Mm-hmm.
This poofiness, because I don't know if I would categorize this as long hair Travolta, but it's certainly not short hair Travolta.
It's mid-range Travolta.
I think we have finally reached and unlocked the new key character in this video game of life of ours called medium hair Travolta.
And it's your Travolta. This is what you're into.
Yeah, I would have to say tied for first place with the hair ranking, Carrie and Staying Alive.
Whoa, this is a plot twist right here.
Because I do like because how old was he in Carrie? Like, I feel like with Carrie, he had the benefit of just being like
mid-20s.
Well, he was 24 when he did.
So yeah, he would have been like early 20s.
Like 19 maybe even.
Yeah.
Because he was 19 when they made Devil's Reign. And Carrie was only a year later.
Yes.
So he might have been like 19, 20. I don't think we're ever going to get that hair back.
Yes.
I think that was like...
I would concur with that.
I think that was like post-high school Travolta hair.
We're never getting it back.
And we're never getting that back. This is the best of both worlds where it's like we have young Travolta, but he's like aged. He's gotten like that's why I kind of like blowout hair as well, because it looked like he could have been playing a 30-year-old
He's
man.
at the peak of his...
Yeah, he could have been playing 35-year-old, even though at the time he was 25, I think. He could have been playing 35, and I would have believed him because his hair was like matured. Yeah. And this, I get a matured hair look as well, but with the added like partiness to it with the floof.
Yeah.
So yeah, I gotta say that this ties for first place with Carrie.
I really respect that.
Yeah.
You know what I realized? You should start keeping track of these rankings.
I really should. I need to go back to my episodes.
Because we could possibly get to a point where you have 66 of these hairstyles to rank in one episode.
Well, this is episode 9.
Yes.
So now we are officially at the 9 mark right now. And at the very last episode, we will do a total ranking tally right now.
Can you do one right now? Can you rank the 9?
All right,
unite the 7.
I gotta look back. So Staying Alive, number 1. Carrie, I'll just go ahead and say number 2, tied for 1 though.
Yeah.
So it goes, if we're writing down the list, it's 1, 2 Carrie, but parentheses tied for first. Number 3 is going to be, I'm looking at my papers here. See, this is why I have another book. I can just go back. I would say, okay, so it's going to be between... Urban Cowboy I wasn't a huge fan of, just because it was only like the beard and then he wore a hat. I would have to say it goes 1, Staying Alive, 2, but tied for first, Carrie. Are you writing this down?
I'm making a note for you. I'm helping you out.
3, Grease. 4,
Keep going.
Saturday Night Fever. And this was tough for me because I know I've said that I'm a long hair Travolta fella. But again, it's the out of controlness of Boy in the Plastic Bubble and moment by moment why it's so low. So after Saturday Night Fever, what rank is Saturday Night Fever at right now?
4.
5 is Blowout. I like the Blowout here. You can just say right now, Devil's Reign is going to be last.
Okay.
So I just said 5 is Blowout. 6 is going to be...
You know, maybe I shouldn't write this down. Just make you have to figure this out every time.
No, please write. At least this first time. And then I can remember it from now. Then it's going to be Urban Cowboy.
Urban Cowboy.
I struggle to give that answer just because he does wear a hat the majority of the time.
Yeah.
But I'm not a fan of the out of control long hair.
Yeah.
The Carrie long hair, quintessential.
Yes.
Quintessential. So Urban Cowboy, then Boy in the Plastic Bubble.
Ooh, we put Moment by Moment behind.
Moment by Moment. Devil's Reign. I believe that's it.
Yes, that is the ranking.
So can you run through that once more? Just for the
as of
audience?
now, your ranking of hair is Staying Alive,
Okay.
Carrie, Grease, Saturday Night Fever, Blowout, Urban Cowboy, Boy in Late Plastic Bubble, Moment by Moment, and Devil's Reign.
Yeah. Can you text that to me just so I
it's on our Google Drive.
Oh, sweet. All right, cool. All right. We officially are keeping track of it, folks.
Yeah,
So
we have
join
it.
us back in what's our last episode? May 2022.
Yeah, May of next year is when we're currently scheduled to release our last episode.
So May.
Who knows? He might make another movie in the time and prolong this.
Yeah. So May 2022 for right now. We'll have a gigantic. We'll have to just have an episode just to go through the entire.
Yeah,
hair
we'll
ranking.
have a special hair episode.
It'll be a special hair episode. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. I'd fist bump you.
Yeah. It's fine.
Okay. Continuing on with the movie though.
Where were we?
I'm looking back at my Urban Cowboy notes with the beard.
Yeah.
I tell you this, Jeff, not to prolong this hair segment for as long as it is. We're at the 50-minute mark right now.
Cool.
The beard at the beginning of Urban Cowboy is what elevates it above the Boy in the Plastic Bubble moment.
No, the beard's fantastic.
As short-lived as it is, I would kill a dog for that beard.
Yes.
That beard is phenomenal on Travolta. And it's a shame that they made him shave it the rest of the movie. And if he kept it, I might have put him above
Saturday Night Fever.
maybe
and-
Saturday Night Fever. Maybe even Grease.
knows?
Who knows? No one will know
Yeah.
because he shaved his beard.
Yes, he did.
All right. Staying alive.
Yes. We
We,
now
uh,
resume to your regularly scheduled programming.
He's wearing the white suit
Yes,
going
he's
to
wearing the
Laura's
white
party.
suit and he goes.
You like how I found it right away?
You remember. He's wearing the white suit and he goes to Laura's party, and she's hanging out with another guy, and he's like, "How could you do this to me?" Meanwhile, he's doing the same thing to both of the women in his life. Sexism.
Like,
and
and even the points when it's trying to be subtextual
Yeah.
aren't even that
no,
subtextual.
it's like they're obviously trying to make make that point I just made, that like has double standards, but
Right.
It just comes out as him being like, I don't get it. Why do these women not do the same thing I do?
Yeah, and
But he's mad and he leaves the party.
so that's when he goes to see Jackie.
Yeah, but he's late and he catches only the tail end of the performance. She
And
starts
she
crying when she
is-
sees him.
Yeah, and she dead-eye just stares at him while she
and she-
finishes because the lyrics aren't even that subtle either.
Yeah.
It's like something like "you toy with me" and
Yeah.
something, and I'm like, wow, what a very nice subtle
Yes.
piece of music for John Travolta
Yeah.
to perfectly walk in right as they're finishing that up. Like, what if like she finished the song and he walked in and be like, boys, we got to do that song again.
Yeah,
We got to do it
what
once
we're
more. my soon to be ex just walked in. He's got to get the message. So
So she says something to Frank Stallone again. Joel's like, "You still talking to that guy?" He's like, "Yeah, both the women are cheating on me now."
I can't wait till we get to the next rehearsal section when he says the thing about the rhythm guitarist.
Yeah. And she's like, "That's not the problem. You can be relied on. I can't keep being second to you," and all
Yes, she formally dumps him.
that. She essentially dumps him.
Dumps the benefits part.
Yeah.
They were friends with benefits. She dumps the benefits. They're just friends now.
And then we get what is actually a good sequence that I like. Where
The
he,
rehearsal scene?
No, where he saunters out in his white suit and walks across the Brooklyn Bridge, all sad. And we get the shot of his feet from the first movie, but this time it's like a sad trot instead of excitement.
It's moments like these that it's like, this could have been a pretty decent sequel.
This is a good use of iconography.
Yeah.
For a point.
And he passes.
He passes 2001 Odyssey.
2001 Odyssey. Right.
And he just walks home and goes into his house and sees his mom.
How far of a walk is it from Manhattan to Brooklyn if you're walking?
Probably like a 40-minute walk,
Yeah.
something like that.
would
I
think
mean, the route he took.
Yeah, you can imagine.
It can be longer or short depending on what part of Manhattan, what part of Brooklyn. It's a big ass city.
Yeah. So, but yeah, he walks back to Brooklyn and just walks in the house.
Yes.
Apparently, either he has a key or they leave their doors unlocked.
he's
which in
returning.
Brooklyn, probably not something you want to do.
And he and his mom talk, and he's like, I was a real bastard back in the day, but now I'm a good person.
And I love her response. It was like, the fuck you mean? It's
Yeah.
like,
he's like,
Tony
you were a
back
bastard,
then?
but I got you out of here.
Yeah, it's like who you were back then is what got you out of there. And there's like I don't know.
But now we kind of get to probably the weirdest part of this movie is that the theme of it and the moral is almost like, it's good to be a bastard sometimes. Sometimes you just gotta be a shithead.
Yeah.
And it's like,
I lost track of where the thread was going.
Yeah. It's like the first movie is about, sometimes you there's a chance for you to be better, and like you shouldn't feel put down by the place you live and all that.
Yeah.
And this movie's like, well, you can kind of be a little of a shitty guy as long as you're not too shitty.
Right.
Because it got you out of there to be mean. And then the end of this movie supports that, where he's like terrible to Laura until the final moment where he brings her back.
And there's a line in this where he's saying something about like, yeah, and it's smaller. It's like, what do you mean smaller? And she's like, the opposite of bigger, smaller. Yeah. Like, great line there, Stallone.
But his mom kind of gives him the pep talk with all that, and he goes back. And he goes back to an audition for the show, where Jackie's not really talking to him too much. But at the same time, Laura and the current male lead of the show, they ain't cutting it.
They're not.
The guy's not passing it.
And Laura's like, "Is it me?" And it's not.
And
her.
the conductor's like, "No, it's not."
It's like, the guy.
And Travolta grabs him.
I heard Patrick Swayze has a cameo in this film.
Does he?
It was IMDb trivia section that said it.
Anyway, maybe he does. But he grabs the not conductor. What's like the choreographer? Yeah. He grabs him. He's like, "Give me a chance." And the guy's like, "Fuck it, sure."
Well, we passed over the rehearsal scene with him and Jackie. He asked Jackie, "It's like, can you just help me rehearse for this part? Because I think I have a chance of getting it." And it's important because he's at the dance studio and she shows up with Frank Stallone.
Oh yeah, Frank Stallone.
And he's immediately putting up his guard up.
Yeah.
And he's like, "What'd you bring him for?" It's like, what the fuck is like?
He's like, he's my friend.
Because he puts two and two together that she's dating him now because she says good night.
Yeah.
Like, and he acknowledges and observes her formal way of saying good night.
Yeah.
To
he's like, "You're cheating on me." He's like, "We broke up."
And he's like, "I didn't take you for dating a musician." And he's like, he's a rhythm guitarist. Everyone knows you can't trust a rhythm guitarist. I'm like, I think that's the drummer, dude. I think you're talking about the drummer on that stereotype. But then they do their rehearsal process. So they're doing the routine that the leads do for him to practice and step up and get the chance. Not for Jackie to step up and take Laura's spot. No.
Only for Tony.
Only for Tony. So that was a little bit there behind as I was watching that scene.
He essentially cheated on her and then is like, "Hey, can you help me get a role so I can be with the woman that I cheated on you with?"
Yeah.
A little fucked up.
And I mean,
but,
the scene itself is...
It's fine.
It's fine. I would say it's better than most of the montage dance scenes we've been getting. This one's a little bit more...
This is around the part of the movie where I just got really bored.
Which is why you forgot about this scene.
Yeah, I wrote a lot of notes up until about this scene. And then I wrote a note that just says, "This movie's losing steam."
Oh, man. So, I wrote down, Tony and Jackie rehearse alone, ... sensually.
Yes. There's a lot of, as I said, a lot of sex through dancing.
A lot of sex through dancing.
Yeah. But the rehearsal bears out well for him. And he goes up to the choreographer and is like, "Give me a shot." Did I miss something again?
So after the rehearsal scene, Tony's like, "Let me walk you home." She's like, "No, it's fine." And then she starts to walk away. And then Tony hops up next to her. It's like, "You know what? I'm a changed guy. I would never let you walk home alone. It's a dangerous neighborhood, So he walks her home. They get to the apartment. He's laying it on thick. He says, "Jackie, like, I love you." And that's when they kiss.
Oh, yeah, they do kiss. This happens.
And he goes up to her apartment.
I just watched this movie. I just watched this movie.
So did I.
Yeah.
Like today.
Yeah.
God, I did watch it today.
This is literally like I said, I was losing so much steam around this part of the movie.
I even watched it like earlier this morning, not just right before this podcast. I had to get up early to watch it because I had a meeting in between our podcast and when I watched it. So I got up at like 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
Watched it around 9. It got over at like 10:50. Then I had a meeting at 11. That got over at 12:30. Then you came over at like 1.
Yeah. Hell of a movie.
Yeah.
So
then there's the rehearsal.
There's finally scene.
Then there's
Okay,
the
where he grabs
rehearsal
the
scene.
choreographer, and he's like, "I can do it." And the choreographer's like, "Sure, whatever."
Yeah.
And so Travolta and Laura,
They go for it.
they go for it, and the choreographer's like, "Yeah, that was cool."
Well, he flunks the first
He
time.
flunks the first time.
And
he storms off.
He's ready to walk off. His pride is hurt. You know, it's something that happens to a lot of like musicians, dancers, performers of the type. That if you flunk in front of a lot of people, it's like your pride is hurt. You want to walk out. You don't just want to like not try to audition for the part. You want to get out of there. So he's like ready to get out of there. That part I understood from that mentality. There's a lot of things that, from my personal experience of being like a performer in some way back in like high school and college, that I got in this movie, mentality wise. And so like the whole drama bit with like the love triangle, like I was kind of like, yeah, that's kind of like dramatic shit that goes on with like performer mentality things. Everyone's sleeping with each other on the stage.
Yeah.
Like if you go see a Broadway musical, it's like somebody's fucking somebody. Hopefully it's not the case now, but it definitely was back then. So he's walking out, and then Jesse, the choreographer, chases him out.
And he's like, and Troll's like, I feel like I was being used. And then he says, everybody uses everybody. A clever callback.
Yeah. And he's like, if you walk out of here, don't expect to be able to come back. And like,
I'll blacklist you in this town. You'll never walk again.
You'll never walk in. You think you're a hot shot because you got this role? This is probably the only big role you ever got.
Yeah.
So, and that's when like he continues to walk out. But then, and they're getting ready to start again. Robert is the name of the man, I think. Or no, Butler.
Butler? Who's
Butler
that? Who's that?
That's the guy who is like flunking the dance that Travolta is trying to replace.
Yeah, his
Jesus,
name is Butler. I didn't know his name.
Well, I'll be real. This was me during moment by moment.
Yeah.
I can't lie about that. So anyway, so then as they're getting ready to go again, Butler is taking a spot again. Then Travolta walks in.
Yeah, and then he's like...
And Jesse has no regard for Butler's emotional health whatsoever. He's like, get the fuck out of here. Tony, go ahead and try. And then they do it.
Yeah, and they do it very well.
Yeah. And during the dance, it should be noted that like Laura's expression during the dance is like, oh my God, this guy's actually doing it. He's actually fucking doing it. He's like tossing me around and shit. So he does it well, and he gets the part.
There's a lot of tension.
Yep.
And then after that, it's pretty much just goes right to like the performance, right?
The premiere.
Yeah, his mom, Tony's mom comes.
I wrote down. I wrote down. Where did I write it down? Somewhere in here.
But it's very pure. She's like, "That's my son up there. I don't know where he learned how to dance."
I thought I wrote it down somewhere, but it's like, this may not have been the show you would have wanted to bring your mother to.
Yes. It's called Satan's Alley. She's a very strong Catholic woman.
It's very much like the Chicago musical. He had it coming.
Yeah.
You know,
he had it coming.
A lot of very like, sensual dances, skimpy outfits, a lot of skin.
There's a lot
no
of
nudity.
Yeah, there's a lot of like near nude people playing demons.
And we forgot to tell our audience this. Like in the earlier audition montage, really, when he's going from office to office to office, sending his resume, he's always saying like, I do anything, but no nudity. My mom doesn't want me to do nudity, doesn't want me to catch a cold. It's his joke. And this musical is like,
as close as you can get to
it's really hard to call this a musical because there's no singing.
Yeah, it's
a performance.
It's interpretive dance.
It's a performance.
Yes,
we'll call it a performance. But this performance, a lot of partial nudity.
Yes.
People like at one point I thought Travolta was wearing something that's like, if he like lifts his leg, his junk is going to come out.
He's dressed like a caveman. And his mom at one point does like the sign of the cross because she's so disturbed.
Yeah. But it's the premiere. And I wrote down technical, and I said this at the beginning of the podcast, like, I feel like this is where all the budget went.
Yeah. It's a very well-produced set.
Yes.
There's a lot of cool lighting gags.
Thank you.
And the dancing is
but the cinematography doesn't.
Yeah.
It doesn't do it justice. It doesn't do it justice.
I'm not someone who ever falls asleep during movies, and I didn't fall asleep during this movie.
Okay.
But the only times I ever like fall asleep when I'm watching something are like watching like videos or like performances of like stage music. Like there's something about the disconnect between watching a stage performance in real life and on a screen that just doesn't work for me, and like I can fall asleep during that.
That's fair. That's absolutely fair.
Like I'll fall asleep watching them. The only one that like really did it for me was the Hamilton, like performance.
See, here's the thing,
Because it
Jeff.
was what
I didn't watch it on Disney Plus because I fucking watched it on Broadway.
I saw it on stage too. I didn't see it on Broadway, but I saw it in Chicago when it was here.
Okay, I guess that's kind of cool.
Yeah, so suck on that. But but that watching that was one of the only ones that really did. And this gave me that same feeling I get when I'm normally watching like stage, where it's like I kind of lose because it loses a lot of the grandeur when you're not in the room.
Yeah, I understand that. For me, it's just being someone who was a performer. Like I was able to attach some stuff to it. Like I liked watching and comparing like, oh, like this. I wrote down like there's a clear like hero's arc embedded within this like performance. Like Travolta is clearly like somebody who is in the story of the musical that I got from it was like descended to hell or had to face, because I think Laura's character is the devil.
Yeah, like some sort of satanic creature.
Yeah. And he's like he's like the hero.
And this is such a Stallone sequence.
Yes, it is.
Because he's such like, for all his talking like this and writing dumb lines and all that, he has this like weirdly strong sense of classical like hero's journey literature.
Yeah.
I watched some interview with him when he's in Guardians of the Galaxy too for like 2 seasons or whatever.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, these Marvel movies are like mythology, and it's like connecting back to like Joseph Campbell, and like it's Stallone just like has a very strong like intellectual acumen for like this old classical storytelling.
He's an Oscar winner for screenplay,
and you see it in this moment with how they're using this like satanic like play as a representation of Travolta's arc,
and that's what kept my interest during it alive.
That stuff would be cool if there's more to it.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. One thing that surprised me about this is how Tony-centric the performance was.
Yes.
I thought it was more of like a duo performance between Laura and
he straight
Tony.
up just stole the lead role from that guy.
It really is like he is the leading man. This isn't a duo. Like Laura is like the leading woman, but like she has maybe half the stage time. You really can't call it screen time. The stage time is like Tony does. Like Tony is the hero of this, and she's the antagonist. Antagonistic role in this performance. But a lot of cool stuff.
The first time they're out there, they're dancing together, and at the end he kisses her, and then she spits in his eye.
She scratches his eye.
Was it a scratch? I thought it was a spit.
She kind of he kisses her and he like kind of scratches.
Because I think Jackie runs over and is like, "Is your eye okay?" And then she's like, "Did you have to kiss her?" And
his answer to that was like, it was nothing. See, I thought he was going to say something like, oh, it was the heat of the moment. Because I thought that was what I thought when I first saw that. I thought, heat of the moment, you know?
Because, I mean, this whole performance is just kind of him getting back at Laura for how she used him.
Yeah, but how so? Because they say that a lot in the movie. It's like, this isn't time for you to have revenge on somebody. Like,
he's upstaging her. And then at the end of the performance, he literally throws her off the stage.
Yeah,
like not even like as in a sense of like he kicks her, like he picks her up and throws her off the stage,
unscripted, unchoreographed.
He does a solo. It cuts to Jesse. And he's like, I didn't tell him to do a solo.
Yep, he does this all on his own.
Tony does like a big solo on the stage. And,
so much for that lesson in Saturday Night Fever about it's not all about you.
Yeah, it isn't. Because the weird thing about this movie is like, yes, sometimes it is all about you.
Yeah,
and you got to just know when to balance that. And that could be a compelling theme for a movie. It just goes back to, I think the main problem with this movie,
it's not a sequel.
It's a really bad sequel. If this exact story was taken, and even Stallone could have directed it, done otherwise, I'm not gonna say it would have been good, but it could have been decent. It's just that comparing this to Saturday Night Fever, having the same character, having to deal with the themes and the ideas and the arcs of that movie, is such a detriment to this one.
That was basically what I was going to say from what I said at the beginning about addressing why this has such as horrible critical analysis as it does. Because Jeff, you and I both agree that this isn't a 0% Rotten Tomatoes score. And what I was going to say at the beginning, but I'll just go ahead and say it now. It's like, you know, with Rotten Tomatoes, it's like percentages of the negative reviews and positive reviews and all that stuff. Every review is going to be negative because of being a sequel to Saturday Night Fever.
Yeah, it's like, how does not really build on the first one in any way?
Yeah.
It's almost a rejection of the first one.
Exactly. And it's like, this movie isn't like 0% Rotten Tomatoes quality.
Yeah.
It's just that if you're watching it with the expectation of the sequelness of it, then that is a 0% quality.
Yeah.
But the movie itself, and I kind of got that early on when I started the movie. When I first started it, it's like,
I'm like, this could have been good if it was just not a sequel.
this could have been good. I just thought this is a spin-off.
It's held back by its sequel nature.
I thought like if I just watched this like it's a spin-off.
Yeah. Or if you watched it like and
It's
just
an independent
never
film.
seen the first.
Change John Travolta's name
Yeah.
to a different person. Totally different movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but the performance. So
Yeah. He throws her off the stage, does his solo, and then he brings her back at the last moment for their like triumphant smile. He holds her in one hand, like above him. It's kind of impressive.
Well, we forgot something, which was so at the end of the first act when he kisses her, she scratches his eye. Jackie talks to him all that time. In between, during the break between the first and second act, Laura and Tony like have another talk right before they go on for the second act, and she tells him he doesn't have it.
Yeah.
Just kind of her way of like poking it a little bit. She's just poking
and then
him.
he throws her off.
And that's when like, obviously they're doing this dance routine at the end of the second act, and then he just tosses her aside, does this dance routine, jumps on this floating platform.
Yeah, and brings her back for like being held above his head on the floating platform.
It's just like they're like, jump. And she's like, I can't. And Jackie was like, jump.
There's like, I'll catch you. Jump.
And she's like, I can't. It's like,
You
jump,
have to jump.
jump.
It's something of an action movie.
Yeah. And so she does this jump, cut to this lower angle of her like doing this choreographed jump, and then she magically lands on the platform.
She imagines the platform perfectly. He grabs her,
tosses
and the show
her.
ends.
Show ends.
We got like a Rocky ending where everyone stands up. It's like everyone's applauding. His mom's like, "That's my son. That's my son."
Yep. And so then we're backstage. Everyone's celebrating.
Yeah.
It's a great performance. Champagne's popping. And then Tony's walking through with Jackie in his arms. She's like, "You don't want to stay?" It's like, "No, I want to strut."
Yeah, and he and Jackie have kind of made up. And then Staying Alive starts playing.
Staying Alive
as he struts out, and it's all the same shots from Saturday Night Fever's opening sequence.
Exactly.
Because Tony's back in his groove, I guess.
Yeah.
And he struts down Times Square.
Yeah.
There's some like low angle shots of him walking across the street. Sounds like, is he about to get hit by a car? Because like it kind of looks like that's what they're teeing up with the way the shots. They don't do it, obviously.
Right.
But it does end with a freeze frame
of him.
He's smiling, walking, and then he fades away.
and it fades out.
He just
fades to black. Go to credits.
No, he just apparates out of the frame. The rest of it's still there.
Wow, I forgot about that.
Like he walks over and he freezes. And then we're still seeing the exact same shot down square, but he just disappears.
What do you think the purpose of that one was?
I think it's just so that they can fit, like, logically,
credits.
They just need to fit the credits on. He's in it, and so they just wanted a backdrop.
But if you wanted to dig too much,
if you want to get really deep, he died. Maybe he did get hit by a car. Maybe he died in the performance. I don't know.
I think this might be controversial to say, but I wasn't as turned off by that ending only because, like, as soon as the music hit, and I knew Staying Alive was going to play at the end.
I wrote the strut gets me hype. That ending that ending got me hyped up.
It got me hype. I was like, and then like the same camera angles, the same shots, and he's like smiling, and I thought like this is like that. I liked it a lot actually because like he has that same smiling expression like he did at the beginning. But what's interesting, and this actually does have some subtextual meaning to it, because in the beginning of Saturday Night Fever, his like kind of like way he carries him is about like he's a big part of the neighborhood, and then it cuts to the paint shop scene.
Yeah, and he's a small part.
This is like
he's a big shot on Broadway.
He's a big shot on Broadway. He's made it, and he's earned that right to like carry himself up high.
And
so I like it.
So the movie ends with Travolta smiling off, very optimistic about his future.
He died.
And then
he died on stage.
And then the movie ends, and it comes out in 1983, and that optimism was ill-placed. As we said, this movie is one of the only ones that has 0% Rotten Tomatoes. It did not do well.
Doesn't deserve it.
It did not do well with critics.
Yeah.
A lot of critics agree. Entertainment Weekly dubbed this the worst sequel ever. In 2006.
Did they see Jaws 2?
Have you seen Jaws the Revenge? That's the one where the shark's telepathic and it's hunting down the family.
Right. This is not the worst sequel ever. I'm planting my flag on this hill. Like, this is not the worst sequel
there are
ever.
significantly worse sequels.
There are much worse sequels. This is a bad sequel, but I don't know.
But a lot of critics agreed it didn't have the grittiness or realism from the first one, according to this article.
True. It did need to be darker and grittier, which Stallone even admits to. He said in an interview, like, even though the movie made money, he recognizes its critical failure and wishes he had made it darker.
Yeah, Stallone has a lot of regrets about this. Though, alternatively, Travolta said that his favorite director he's ever worked with was Stallone.
He said he knew how to make me look the best on screen.
And according to your hair ranking, you agree with that. Travolta is extremely sweaty, and it looks like they like poured a bucket of grease on him before every scene.
Hey, now.
He's so wet.
He is.
He is insane.
Sorry, the way you said that. He is
so wet. He is. Watch it. Look up.
So wet.
Look up John Travolta staying
Go to
alive.
our YouTube channel. Go to this YouTube video. Type in the comment hashtag so wet.
He is so extremely wet in this movie. But in spite of all this critical painting, it did actually do fairly well at the box office.
Right.
Not like amazing. It didn't.
What was his budget and what did it like? Gross
It had $22 million budget. It made $65 million. Yeah, which is only half of what Saturday Night Fever made.
Yeah.
So as a sequel, it's a failure.
Yeah.
As just its own movie, it made a decent little profit.
Yeah. Right.
Enough that, and this is a fun fact, that Paramount was pleased enough with Stallone's direction.
Oh, I think I know where you're going with this.
And the budget of this movie that they considered having Sylvester Stallone and John Travolta star together in The Godfather Part 3, directed by Stallone. That was going to be about Travolta and Stallone as mob leaders caught in a drug war. I don't know how that would have been The Godfather Part 3, but
I think they were a rival gang against the Corleone family.
The thing is, none of the other people, like Al Pacino, wasn't going to come back.
Right.
So I don't know how you would have done it, but it probably would have been like Al Pacino's like grandson or whatever.
Yeah.
But that was thankfully canned when Coppola, Puzo, and Pacino decided to come back for Godfather Part 3.
Yeah.
A movie that I think is okay.
I fell asleep during it.
But is not great in comparison to the first.
I fell asleep.
The Godfather 3 is a movie similar to this that would be only suffers because of its connection to the first two.
Yeah.
You watch Godfather Part 3 as its own movie, you're like, this is fine. In comparison to two of the most perfect movies ever made, it struggles.
Yeah, it definitely struggles.
But this is not the Godfather cast.
I think we just broke an hour, which is surprising. I thought we would talk a little bit more longer about this movie.
Only an hour?
Maybe an hour and 4 minutes.
Yeah. But I mean, this movie is another hit to Travolta after his recent failures and flops.
What's after this one?
Two of a Kind. Him and Olivia Newton-John.
One. Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be our next episode that you folks can listen to next week. Do you have any closing thoughts on Staying Alive?
Just, I don't think it's as bad. Like, if you look at the Rotten Tomato score and see 0%, one would, like, freak out and be like, God, why would I watch this movie? But I would implore the audience, like, if you watch this with the mindset that it's its own isolated thing. I watched it thinking it was going to be like, this isn't a sequel, it's a spin-off. We happen to have the same character. And then I watched it with that kind of keeping in mind. Mm-hmm. I do agree. It lacks in its subtext. It lacks in its visual storytelling. It lacks in its message. And hell, even some of like the writing isn't like as good as it could be. One thing we didn't really address is Travolta's performance.
Yeah, he's good.
He's good.
Yeah,
he's good in this movie.
He's not Saturday Night Fever good, but he's good.
Right. Yeah.
Blowout's still my favorite performance as we covered.
Well, I think that goes to the visual storytelling aspect. Is so much stuff is delivered through dialogue that I don't think there was a Saturday Night Fever moment where like him to be like Oscar worthy.
He's fully fine in this movie. I would not have nominated for the Razzie he was nominated for.
No, I wouldn't have either.
He's doing his thing in this.
Yeah.
I think it was a bad choice, but to me, this movie is, even if I don't love it, it's so fascinating.
Yeah.
Just as an archival piece of where Travolta and Stallone are at.
And if you watch, I would implore audiences to watch this and Rocky 3.
Yeah. Honestly, watch anything that's Stallone-directed in this.
Rocky 4, maybe. I would say watch this and then watch Rocky 4 back to back.
Watch Rocky 3.
Rocky 3, you think?
Rocky 4, he's defeating communism, and there's not enough time to deal with the business of anything
I'm gonna be real. Rocky 4, I personally think is the most patriotic film you can watch on the 4th of July. It beats The Patriot. It beats Independence Day. It beats.
No, it's a movie about an American hero who travels to Russia and not only defeats a Russian, but defeats the system of communism.
It's the most patriotic film ever.
Everyone
you cannot tell me the moment he runs on top of the mountain and yells out Drago, you are not just full of American fuel.
Everyone thinks that like it's a bit that he beats. The end of the movie is he beats up Drago, grabs a microphone, looks at Mikhail Gorbachev and says, "If I can change, you can change." And all of them cheer. And Gorbachev even like applauds like begrudgingly. And then, like 3 years after the movie comes out, the Soviet Union falls. Like,
Rocky 4 defeated communism.
It literally single-handedly did it.
Yeah, no other reason.
Yes, and that's why it's not really what I compare to the second Stallone, because the rest of Stallone's movies are more concerned with actual things.
Yeah.
Aside from defeating communism.
I feel like Stallone had a speed dial to Ronald Reagan's office during the production of this movie.
He's like, yes, Sylvester.
Well, if you could put in a change in communism.
You sound like, you once again sound like Jimmy Carter.
I'm just trying to do an old man voice.
What's his name? Sylvester, I think that that's more of a Trump.
Yeah.
Anyway,
you're doing a Trump thing.
I'm doing a Trump. I'm just gonna not. Yes, not. That is Staying Alive. Thank you, folks, for listening.
What? Well, quick before we wrap up. What version of this movie do you think could have worked? Being a sequel, that is.
Being a sequel.
Not by its own, but if you had to rewrite Staying Alive and make it a good sequel.
Well, I would have first brought the Stephanie character back.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be a large role, but just like a part of his life. Like at the end, he promises that they'll remain friends.
Yeah.
And even if she's not in it, making it in some way about why she's no longer in it. Mm-hmm. I think that's important. I think you can still kind of have him trying to make it on Broadway and be a nice guy. You just need to like approach a message that isn't. Sometimes you gotta be a shitty. Like,
yeah, I'm trying to think because
you got to make this movie about him trying to be a good person and being challenged in that, but at the end, like reasserting that.
Yeah, and I'm thinking like Tony, who comes from this hard, masculine, gritty place of Brooklyn, where he tries to reach out for his feminine side, and then he's into this place that embraces his feminine side in Broadway, right? Mm-hmm. But I can imagine there could be some sort of a plot tool with like the toxic nature of that industry. And not that I would want it to make a commentary on like the toxic elements of Broadway and like all the performance media and all that stuff, but I definitely think that if you put like the Tony Manero we knew at the end of Saturday Night Fever into a Broadway musical, and he gets introduced to all like the politics and like the drama and everything, I think there's a good story in that.
This movie should have been about Tony Manero defeating communism through dance.
And with that, I feel good to wrap this up.
Thank you, folks, for listening to this episode. Next week, we're covering Two of a Kind.
That's not Two of a Kind movies. We're covering the movie called
movie Two of a Kind. The reteaming of Travolta and Olivia Newton-John joins this in kind of like a retreat to form for him. As near as I can tell, it's only available through like secondhand DVD.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I'm gonna have to get you that.
Okay. Do you already have it?
I haven't. And I have not watched it yet.
Okay.
But we'll get around to it.
I have a moment by moment DVD in the back there.
Gotcha. I'll grab it on the way out.
Cool.
Well, so even though I said at the beginning, I encourage everyone to watch the movies as we go through them, just to add your context as we discuss these movies and kind of have a journey together with our audience.
Yeah.
I understand that movie may not be totally on the list because it's only available on secondhand DVD. But yeah, Two of a Kind next week. Make sure if you enjoyed this episode to rate, review, and subscribe on whatever platform you're on.
That'd be great.
As a reminder, we are on Spotify, we are on Apple Podcasts, we're on Google Podcasts, and we're on YouTube. Please let your friends know if you have anyone who you think would enjoy this podcast. If you're enjoying this podcast, please let us know in the comment section or by writing a little review. We really do appreciate it.
And if we have any friends who are listening to this podcast and has not signed up to guest star on an episode.
For dear friends who are listening. I mean, we have all of them so far. This is not an open invitation for anyone listening to the show to guest on this podcast, mind you. Not for anyone. Like it's some random. Yeah.
Why are you being so exclusive, Jeff?
I'm a gatekeeper. It's true. I gatekeep.
Okay.
Anyway, we're on Twitter and Instagram at Travolting Pod. We are on Gmail, travoltingpodcast@gmail.com. Let us know. We're on Reddit, r/Travolting, a page I have not looked at in 6 weeks. I hope there's a thriving community there.
There might be.
I am on Twitter at Jeff W. Sweeney. Stu is on
Instagram at Stuart Elmore 95.
And as always, special thanks to Rebecca Johnson for our graphic design.
We love you, Rebecca.
And thank you to Michael Van Bodegum Smith for our theme music that
We
you
love you,
folks
Michael.
are hearing right now.
It's great.
Have a great week, everyone, and we'll see you for Two of a Kind.
Bye, everybody. Wait. You gotta wait for me. Wait, no. Reset. We're gonna do it together.
Okay.
No, I wasn't. I had an angle up.
No, don't torture our audience with that, please. I don't want them to have to listen to that.
Till the gargle? Whatever you want, dude. Whatever you want to say.
Settle down, please.